I started painting probably when I was right around 3 years old. I don't think I was able to actually sit in an oil painting class when I was 3. I think the instructor made me wait until she thought I could sit long enough to take her serious. So probably by the age of 5, I was sitting in front of a formal teacher and a canvas and paints. I work primarily in oils. I've done other mediums and techniques, but it is my preferred and my favorite. I like to mix it sometimes with different gessos, chalks, pastels. Or this one will have a heavy application of charcoal, but primarily they're oils. I primarily paint figurative paintings with pretty expressive dramatization in the figures. What I like to do with the backgrounds is I like to, what I call, divide the plane. And so I typically try to show the energy and the things that are not seen around the situation that I'm painting. Sometimes I divide the plane geometrically in a bubble sort of application. In this one, I divide it in a way to kind of show the energy and the presence of other people who have walked in the path before this figure actually stood here. So this one will be a little bit more about the human energy and the happenings that probably happened in the same place where she's standing. I typically paint stories as a human experience. Particularly, I show it through the female or through the woman's eyes by depicting a female figure. Most of my stories are relatable between genders, but partially being a woman and partially loving the female figure and having that mindset, I tend to focus on the perspective that she has in these situations. This painting is about a premiere or a red carpet for this figure. I'm trying to depict something a little bit current and relevant, and the red carpet that she walks could be at any stage or any type of event in her life. But I'm kind of looking at it as a premiere for her. When I divide the plane, I like to break out shadows, and they're the areas that I paint flat in a painting. So there's areas that are abstracted, there's the figure, which is painted in pretty high realism, and then there is the shadows. For me, it grounds the figure to a real, tangible situation. In this one, she's walking up, her shadow's red, just to kind of express the importance of the walk that she's taking. And the background is divided into a very expressive explosion, if you will, of figures and energy that surround the present situation, whether if they're currently there or if they've passed prior. It's just trying to show everything that's happening around her. It's time just to define the lines and different texture. This will be a layer of oil washes and charcoal used to depict the linear line. I like to divide it into the paint and smear it into the paint to give you a little bit of an expression of the boundaries and the division of these figures, but also to help express the transference of light. Sort of in a prism sort of component. It's really kind of interesting that the type of canvas I'm working on is Belgian linen, and it's really been sanded down and primed so that it's almost slicker than paper. So it has a fantastic texture of almost like butter when I put the oils and the washes on it. And then I can get a little bit of a grit and a grain when I start to build in the charcoal. So it's got a fun way that I can manipulate the pigments in the process. This painting is called fait accompli, which basically means the deed is finished, a decision that is irreversible once the moment it's made. And this painting is basically about a woman passing a child to another person. For me, it's a story of adoption. I was adopted and have actually gotten to know my birth mother, and I've learned to understand the heaviness that she's carried with her about this decision. It also throws back to just kind of in society that it takes so many to raise one. And though there's a heaviness to the figures, I really wanted to also show the strength in both of the individuals. The strength in the woman who's handing the baby, but also the strength in the one who's receiving it. This piece is actually titled Azadi, which in Persian or Iranian it means liberty. It's very much as it appears. It is a woman who has been kept in a dark, cold place, who's leaping fearlessly out into a bright, colorful new world. It's completely about liberation, and though she is very nude and open to this expression, she's also a little bit cheered and shaded and protected, veiled, if you will, in this process.